Good evening, good afternoon, and good morning to our audience, and welcome back to the Filmmakers Journey Roundtable, a discussion where we invite filmmakers at every level and every facet to discuss our experiences. I'm your host, Nathan Han, a not-so-young producer who decided to join the industry much later in life, so I have zero prior knowledge, so we'll be taking a beginner's perspective into the wacky and wondrous world of filmmaking. Joining me today are two guests, Eugene Hsiang, writer, actor, and producer, seen in films such as Love in Isolation, The Peculiar Method, and the anthology series Repression, having also written and co-produced an upcoming film called Lawless Zone.
Yep.
Lawless Zone.
With Jai in it.
With Jai, leading to our second guest, Jai Day.
That's me.
Actor and co-founder of the Actors Gym Hong Kong, seen in films such as Skip Trace, Dragon Blade, Chasing the Dragon, and Pacific Rim. To name just a few. Eugene, Jai, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
So, as tradition, the first question I always ask to anybody that's on the show is, what is your favorite movie of all time?
Great. Love that question. What do you want? Stream of consciousness? I'll give you a few.
Oh man, I actually hate that question. Because
Oh, what an original take, Eugene.
I know, thanks. I hate that question. I think it's because I'm so indecisive, or I just feel too much.
Well, I do also say, you know, obviously your favorite film may change throughout like the week or day or years.
Yeah.
So what is like your favorite film right now?
Oh crap.
I'll go. I'll give you a few, right? Let's start with Leon the Professional. Love that movie. Do you know Event Horizon? You ever seen that movie? For some reason, I have such a soft spot in my heart for that like psychological sci-fi horror of Event Horizon, Sphere, that kind of stuff. I love it. I love it so much. And then you've got 12 Angry Men.
I love that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Casablanca. Did you ever see Shaolin Soccer? You kidding me?
Oh yeah.
How good is that?
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
Those are some great contenders.
Yeah,
Great
thank
contenders.
you so much. Thank
But
you so
Eugene,
much.
anything?
Me, I think the way I look at it is like when, as a kid, like which movies really affected me the most. I was lucky enough to be able to watch more like the Chinese side as well as the American side, I think, American movies. Stephen Chow movies.
Yeah,
All the
of course.
classics. Just most of them, you know?
Yeah.
Most
Kung Fu
of them.
Hustle.
Yeah.
Kung Fu Hustle. Even the old school ones. You know,
Like
Jet
God
Li
of
one.
Cooking.
God of Cooking. What's that one? Journey to the West.
Oh yeah,
I love that one. The US ones, without trying to be persuaded, because Leon the Professional is really good.
So good.
So good.
Don't worry, there are other movies.
I know, I'm just running a blank right now. Without giving the super like stereotypical answer like The Godfather, which is also good. You know what it was right now? It's Lord of the Rings. It was really
Lord
good.
of the Rings?
Yeah.
Like the
Really?
whole series?
Yeah.
Extended cut.
Yeah, only
Oh my
extended
God.
cut. Are you kidding
Isn't that
me?
like 9 hours long or something?
Yeah.
Like the whole thing?
Wow, Korea's going
Like
good.
I got stuff going on. Come on.
Well, okay. Well, our viewers will know that mine consistently through every episode and my entire life so far is forever Shrek 1.
Oh, Donkey.
The original.
Donkey.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. I watched as a kid. It was the movie that my parents would play just to shut me up. And it got to a point where I could I can't do it now, but I could recite the entire movie.
Do it now. We've got time.
I can't remember.
Yeah, you plugged it in. I want to hear it now. Yeah, let's do it.
You know, apparently they originally shot that whole thing with him doing his Canadian accent. And then like at the end he's like, wait, he's gotta be Scottish. And they went back and they redid the whole thing. Well, it's like dubbing, right?
Wow,
So he
I
went
love
back and
that.
did all his.
That's
So much
awesome.
better.
Could be a lie, but that's right. That's right.
It's truth now. It's been recorded. It's on camera.
You know what I love about Shrek? The conspiracy theories.
What are
Like
they?
show up on IGs, like how Donkey was, where did Donkey come from? Did you guys ever watch this? Did you see this on IG?
What is
hey, no.
what is the rabbit
You,
hole?
you laugh. Hey, you
come
laugh.
from?
Why? It's because everyone is like a fairy tale character, right?
Yeah.
Where does Donkey come from?
How do you think fairy tale characters get around in these stories? They gotta ride something,
You gonna ride donkeys?
right? They gotta ride donkeys.
What's this? Well, I'll
Okay,
I'll
wait,
go
wait.
down the rabbit hole.
Go down there. Thank
later
you.
on.
Is
check it out.
Pinocchio's friend? Because Pinocchio got turned, like you know, when he got
Turn into it.
turned into a donkey. So they said like, oh, that's one of his friends. That's where the donkey came
Right.
from. So
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So he was a puppet? You're saying the donkey was a puppet?
No, because the
in
donkey was
story
a
of
boy,
Pinocchio-
and then got turned into a puppet.
Oh!
I mean, no, a donkey got the donkey was a boy, got
Naughty
turned
boys
into a
were turned
donkey.
into donkeys.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's pretty
Donkey's one of
cool.
the naughty boys, I think.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So I thought that
right.
was a really cool.
That's it. Okay, you've turned me around.
I don't know. You cut me off really fast, buddy.
Okay.
I judged you too harshly.
Yeah, Is it because I had crap movie selections?
You had great movie selection.
I'll definitely look into more of the conspiracy theories later. So next is along favorite movies. I mean, we have 2 actors here. What are your favorite? Who are your favorite actors? Now, this is actors you admire, you want to follow in the footsteps of, or maybe potentially act across from in the future.
Great.
Helena Bonham Carter was always a really good one.
I love Adam Driver right now. I think he's so good.
Yep.
I think he's so.
Gary Oldman.
Yeah, sure. Why
Huge
not?
fan of Gary Oldman.
Oh God. Oh God. Oh God. What's his name?
Go by movie.
Okay. The King with Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah. You mean? Whoa! I just ran a blank.
Australian guy. God damn it.
Australian guy.
Joel Edgerton.
Oh yeah.
Joel
Yeah.
Edgerton.
Yeah, I think he's.
Love.
Yeah.
I think he's
Underrated.
incredible.
Okay.
He was in The Warrior, right? With Tom
Yeah.
Hardy. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about Joel? We're on first name basis.
Oh yeah.
What about Joel?
Big J?
Makes do you see right now as why is your favorite? Like why? What do you?
Sure.
Like?
There's a number of things. He's so interesting to watch. He makes such interesting choices with the roles he takes and the films he produces, and he works on, and just his approach to everything. He's a chameleon. He's really like you would never know he was Australian in any of his films, except for the one he did for Netflix last year.
It's true. I did not actually know.
Right?
Australian until
Yeah.
just now, so.
He's. I just think he's so good, and he seems like such a. I don't know why. For me, it's such a big deal that they're a nice guy.
In real life.
But he seems like a nice
No,
guy.
it's a huge deal. Yeah.
Yeah, he seems like a nice guy, and like so talented.
So on the topic of then what you consider is an extremely talented actor is the ability to disappear into a role.
Not always, but yeah. Like, I mean, number one is going to be like your connection to your character and to the other person, and like.
Right.
But then beyond that, you've got interesting choices, right? What choices you make, and then, disappear. But I mean, that means different things, right? You can disappear as like a character actor, or you can disappear like into the role in like you make us believe that you are there. You know what I mean? Like Christian Bale in a lot of his stuff, right?
John Bertham is another one.
Who's that?
That guy, The Punisher. He was in the most recent one I saw him was like
Josh.
King Richard.
Oh.
John Bernthal.
Oh, John Bernthal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, he's amazing.
Edit that out. John Bernthal.
John
Yeah.
Bernthal.
John Bernthal is like.
Oh yeah.
Tom Hardy. I think these are the ones who are just so unapologetic in what they do in the portrayal that it's just really nice to see.
Yeah. What I really like about those two choices as well is that those two guys are not afraid to they're not afraid to be like asshole. You don't have to be a nice guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that was actually for me one of the very first things that was very difficult for me to learn in acting is to get rid of that, of being like a nice human. You don't have to be a nice human. It's like actually more interesting sometimes to be a prick.
It is. You know, it's funny you mentioned that because I'm on that journey still where I'm still trying to get over that. Oh. Because I still spill over to like the real life part. And so when I'm acting, sometimes it comes out, which, as you just said, it kind of affects it, I think, negatively, actually.
Yeah.
It affects it really negatively.
It's boring.
It is.
Because I was also curious, what do you think about, like, they say a lot, the one that comes to mind is Ryan Reynolds.
Love Ryan Reynolds.
But they say that Ryan Reynolds is just playing himself in every role that he chooses, almost. Whereas opposite of Joel, where he kind of, as you said, like disappears into his role. Now, would you say that like, what would you say about that comparison?
I feel like Ryan Reynolds gives us what we want to see.
Yeah. I think it's just different type of actors.
Oh, okay.
But he's also done some roles, right? Where he's
Dramatic ones, you mean?
I'm
trying to think of one. Has he?
Well, he had that one where he was buried alive. That one.
That sounds terrifying. I think I saw a snippet of it and I was like, I'm never gonna watch this film.
Yeah, I first saw Ryan Reynolds in Van Wilder.
Yes.
That was
Yeah.
good.
So like,
Yeah,
I just felt like, I mean, I love it. It's what we want to see.
Yeah, yeah.
But I feel like I see Van Wilder, Ryan Reynolds in everything. Like, in Blade Trinity, in Deadpool, in what was that one where he plays that guy who used to be fat in high school, comes back and he's like skinny and beautiful.
Yeah, what was that film?
Ooh,
I can't remember. It's
I know,
so long
I know
ago.
what you're talking about, though.
Yeah. Just Friends.
Just Friends.
Our producer's saying
Just
Just Friends.
Friends.
It's called Just Friends.
From
Remember
the
that?
ether, you plucked it.
Yeah.
So for you guys as actors and potentially, I don't know what potentially meant, but I'm just throwing out words now.
Potentially.
I'm just gonna grab that.
You're already acting.
I heard potential.
I
yes.
wanted to know the acting bug. Could you tell me like when and where did you catch it? Because I know I know a little about. You told me how you were acting. You started acting in 2019, but actually you've been acting since you were a kid in university. So where did you catch it, or is it something you even catch?
Mine was. It was really interesting. I liked it as a kid. I liked all the arts as a kid because you do all when you're a kid, you music and stuff. And Michael Jackson was always in my mind. You move along with the dance moves and stuff like that. You do the plays. And then I don't know if it was family or I think they just treat it as a hobby. But then as you get older, I think it was just less and less. And then when I was in uni, I was like, I'm gonna do what people want me to do. But at the same time, I'm gonna try and fit in what I want to do. So I signed up for a drama class. I'll be honest, this is gonna be a very common theme in the beginning where the fear and insecurity really ate at me and I let it affect me because I walked in the first day of drama class and it was all just the athletes and the cheerleaders. Oh. And I just got freaked out because they're all huge, way bigger than I am. And I walked in and I was like, no. And I walked right out again and I dropped that class. And then afterwards though, I went to community college and I signed up for an acting class. That was about a year later. Really loved it. And at that time I was gonna go to LA.
Yeah.
But I've always wanted to come back to Hong Kong. And I had the opportunity to come at the same time, and I was like, oh man. And I chose to come to Hong Kong. And it was actually during 2019 when all of a sudden we all found ourselves questioning everything about life. And also I met Jai.
Hi, Jai Day.
Yeah.
Inspiration.
Jai Day has been not only in Skip Trace, but also Dragon Breath.
Well, you read my MDB too, huh?
He was doing the actor show. I think I was in the first one.
Right.
Yeah. And then so I was like, well, there was not many, there still isn't many English-speaking acting classes in Hong Kong.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. I remember before you got in, we've got a mutual friend, Mark.
Yeah.
And Mark reached out to me. He's like, hey, Jai, there's this guy, a friend of mine, Eugene. He wants to try to get into acting. And
That's
he
what
used
Mark
to
sounds
do
like,
it.
by the way.
I mean, hey, how you doing? You like Mark. Mark's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, and he's like, would you mind going to have a coffee or something? So we met up and I'm like, how's it going? You're like, yeah, I kind of want to do it or not.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, do you want to do it or not? You're like, yeah, I want to do it. I'm like, okay, well, let's fucking go. Let's do it. So we went, you got you some headshots.
Oh, yeah.
Remember we took you some headshots, we went out, you sent your stuff to some agents, you got some gigs.
Yeah. That started it all. Super supportive. Made it realize that it wasn't as daunting as we think.
Yeah. Well, because you had everything ready.
Yeah.
You just had a little fear. You were and you didn't know how to start, right?
Yeah. So it was really nice that, have Jai there just to help really give his thoughts, his experiences, guide the way, and then there you go.
Wow.
Jai Day, Mother Teresa.
Whoa.
That's it. When I die, they'll remember Gandhi, Mother Teresa. Jai Day.
But yeah, Jai, what about you? What did you catch, the acting bug? What made you feel like that?
So ever since I was a kid, I used to do it. I used to do commercials and stuff here, because I moved here when I was 3. Right. So then my mom put me in all of these things. So I don't know, I remember selling milk and stuff. Do you remember Ma Fei Fei or Fei Fei Ma? Do you remember her?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, remember her?
Yeah.
I remember doing a commercial or two with her,
No
which was
way.
fun. When I was a kid, and honestly, I was mostly there because my mom always used to get me like a monster in my pocket. Remember those little things?
Yep.
Oh, dude, it was so good. Maybe you're too young. It was like this little. It was like a little rubber monster
I mean,
that you
no, I
like
don't know what
rip
you mean, too.
open, and it was like a little.
Oh, I do not
Like
know.
a Pokemon thing. I don't know.
okay.
I got bribed into it basically.
Okay.
Yeah,
So I did it for a
Alright.
while when I was a kid, and then I did a bunch of school shows and theater stuff or whatever. And then in high school I was doing it too, and then I went to boarding school for like a year and a half. I went to Harrow, and the same teacher who told Benedict Cumberbatch that yes, you should be an actor, you could do it. I went in like I'd known him for 3 days or something. I went in to like decide my GCSEs.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, how you doing? I want to do drama. I want to do English. I want to do this. He just looked at me and he went, not for you, Dave.
Oh no.
And I was like, oh, okay, I guess not. I guess I'll do fucking physics. So I kind of put it on the shelf for a while. I did after that I came back to Hong Kong. I did some more commercials, but it was kind of like pushed out of my mind for a while until after university. And then as soon as I finished, I was like, you know what? What I really want to do is to be an actor. So I should do it, And my parents were like, they were always trying to get me to do it. They're like, yeah, let's try and get you into RADA or NIDA or something. I'm like, no. I'll get a real degree. And then I'll do what I want. And they're like, well, we don't want you to get a fucking real degree, you maniac. Anyway, whatever. So,
Wow, okay.
yeah,
So
and then
I
moved
think
to LA.
for both of you guys, it was always some kind of force that was in your life that kind of encouraged you. You always had this kind of itch, maybe,
God,
just
for me, I feel
the
it.
stage to perform. I mean, you were telling me how you would entertain yourself in your sleep. So you. I mean, you'd like to
Subscribe.
that's OnlyFans platform. But no, you're saying like how you would tell jokes to yourself.
Sure, we I don't know, entertainment is like spicy, right? It's fun. People want to be around it. People like to laugh. People like to feel emotion and stuff. And when I wasn't acting, I did, like in that period, I did play trumpet. I played trumpet for like years, I think like 17 years. And I did a lot of like orchestras, and we'd do the shows. Used to do like the orchestra pits for shows and things.
Yeah.
So I was kind of always around it. And there's a draw. I mean, what else? You've got sport, and you've got entertaining people.
Yeah.
Those are kind
Both
of
are
like,
kind of entertainment. Though.
yeah, both are like fun and draws.
So do you think then
What
that
else is there?
acting is like, it's like sports? You know how there's some people who are like naturally gifted at sports. Do you think there's like a natural gift with acting?
I
Yeah,
think so.
I think so. I think there's some people, or maybe it's like an upbringing thing. I mean, like, what's important to be an actor, right? Emotional availability, connection, vulnerability, confidence, really,
Yeah.
right? And kind of like understanding.
Yeah, I had an acting coach tell me when I went up there, and then afterwards they're giving feedback, and they started off with, "This may be a cultural thing, but you're very reserved," and I was so pissed, right?
Wow.
But as soon as I was like, I
was in LA.
guess it was in LA, and I guess I reacted, and they're like, "That's what I want to see," you know? And I was like,
You pulled out a fucking ninja
I was
sword.
like, well, yeah, you're gonna see it, But I see from that point on, though, I was upset because I was like, why is this a cultural thing, And it made me really think about, the different types of acting, all that stuff, and I realized it's kind of what you just said. It was kind of it's quite basic, emotional availability.
Thank you so much. I thought it was pretty advanced, but
Oh. Hey, it takes
me
advanced
down.
mind to simplify things.
Thank
So
you.
Well, you said this acting coach in LA is so. I actually do want to ask because you both, I know, now spend time bouncing between Hong Kong and LA. What is it like over there on the other side? I do want to ask about here in Hong Kong as well because I'm curious about what the acting industry is like in Hong Kong. But the ever elusive, everyone in the film industry, LA, Hollywood.
Yeah.
What is it like over there? The as you said, the acting classes, the mentality of actors different, the sets. Like, share a little bit about. Give me a taste.
Give me a taste, man.
What was it like over there?
It was, I guess, from my perspective, I took a cue from, well, a lot of other actors in Hong Kong, Jai included, because Jai's been in this
inspiration.
Jai. He's been in Skip Trace, Dragon Play, you know. Jai was in the industry for Hong Kong for like, I don't know, 14 years. He's been like a while. And then through our conversations, he was always like, I think I'm gonna try LA. And he made a good point, like, yo, you're a US citizen. Like, it's so easy for you, you know? And I think from me, my personal experience in Hong Kong, as limited as it was, I realized, like I can see based off the trajectory what it would have been like, because I don't, English is still my most comfortable language. So I was like, well, if that's the case, then I might as well just go straight to LA and give it a shot there. I also feel like I have a lot of catching up to do in terms of time, you know? So I think that was a driving force for me as well. It still is, kind of, if you think about it. Going to LA is, it's very different for me at where I am now in my journey as an actor, in the career.
Yeah.
It's daunting, I'll be honest. But I think it's kind of like one of those things where you kind of have to go through it to force yourself to find out who you are, find your support group. I think that's super important.
Yeah.
Because that gives you the confidence to like springboard off of it, like with that daring attitude, you know. And like, yeah.
Is it a lot of like, as you said, you know, there's a support group, so there's a lot of positivity over there, or is it kind of? I sometimes think that is it like cutthroat over there? Like everyone's trying to like they hear about you going to audition. All right, I'm gonna try that audition as well.
I mean, that would be the same everywhere.
Yeah,
man.
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry, do you mind if I jump in?
Absolutely.
What I love about, well, I started in LA, right? So I was there for 3 years before I came back to Hong Kong. But I'm back now. And what I love about LA is that everyone is kind of in the industry. Everyone is kind of, they get it, they understand, they're passionate, they're talented, you know, everybody's working on themselves. You know, like people are always in classes, you know. And you can find whatever you want to find. You know, like the studios, there's like, if you want to work on your American accent, you want to work on like some dialect, you want to work on your cold reading, you want to work on your self-tapes, you want to work on your scene study, you want to work on your improv, it's all there and it's all really good. You know, so you can really do what you want. And you know what, that is one of the reasons that I started that Actors Gym, because I had that for 3 years, right? Then I came back here and I was looking for it. And I was trying to find these classes. I was like, where is it? Give it to me. There's got to be something, you know, there's got to be somewhere I can practice and train. And then there was like a few teachers would come. And I brought a couple from the US. I brought up Margie Haber. And Jeannie used to come a lot, Jeannie Hartman. But other than that, there was really nothing, you know? So I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna start one and see if I can bring my own teachers out through this.
Right.
And try and like establish that kind of community, you know? Because it's so much better when there's like,
you can only do, it's a very community type of art. It's like I think, well, it's the only art form that you actually have to collaborate. I feel like you can't really.
I mean, I don't know that I'd sign off on that, but yeah.
I don't feel like, look, I always feel like if I'm a musician, I can go busking the street and people will be like, you know, stop and listen. But if I'm gonna break into a monologue, you know, it's like.
You kind of need feedback, some kind of feedback with
I know what you're
acting,
getting at.
right?
You know what I mean? Okay.
I know what you're getting at.
Like bouncing,
Who said that? Was that Bryan Cranston or someone was like, it's the only thing where you need an audience to make it. But I don't agree.
I don't know.
Agree.
No, I don't know. I think monologues is like, I think is a very, I don't know. It's like part of the, something that's a self thing, right? You would, as a monologue, or a soliloquy, I think that's still the same thing. You yourself, one person, go, you know? But
you're always talking to someone else.
Yeah, exactly. So then it's kind of like, you're still bouncing off of something.
Yeah.
You know, and they talk about being fluid with it, you know, being open to see what the other person's giving you to receive it, you know, and.
Well, so you disagree, Jai? With the,
Just with that, the
everything I
statement that no, with the statement that you can't act if you don't have an audience.
Oh, I disagree with that. I agree
Right?
with you in the disagreement.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, there you go. Jai day, everyone.
Peacemaker.
So that's actually something, I'm not sure if I'm wrong, tell me if I'm wrong, because I've only experienced, Hong Kong, we do a couple of our own things.
Yeah.
You've been on one of our stuff. But from what you're telling me, in LA, you have like a wealth of people who are just passionate about their craft. Whereas Hong Kong, I'm sure there are people that are passionate about craft, but when we do work with, actors, first of all, I don't know if you have the experience, but a lot of like maybe 80% of the actors we try and cast are more like models who are like trying their hand at acting because they'll do both. But there's no that, hey, can we get rehearsals? Can we come in and do a couple table reads and
Well, you know why, dude? It's
on-
because like the industry isn't set up for it really here. Like in the US, right? It's established that people have side jobs, they have side hustles or whatever, and then they have their job, right? And like people understand that. People are like, you're an actor, you can't do these days because you work in a gym or you work whatever. But here, it's so rare, so difficult to be able to survive as an actor, right? Almost impossible, like you have to be versatile. Like when I did it for 10 years, right? But I did voiceover, I did modeling, I did statue and circus stuff and like stunts and like, you have to do everything because it's not, one, the jobs aren't consistent. There isn't enough work for it to be consistent. Two, they don't pay enough and you don't get any residuals for it to be consistent. But it is a wonderful, wonderful place to get experience and to work and like,
Completely agree.
and you're close and you can do all the movies in China, you can do all the movies in like Korea, Thailand, Philippines, whatever. So it's like, it's really good. I do love it here, but it's just different.
When we've done our personal stuff, our own projects, we actually realized that was a gap in our knowledge as well, where I think you might also have felt that when we worked with you on TRS, we would be like, all right, here's call time, here's a script, see you then. And then there's just zero like, hey, you want to come in and I think we asked to like rehearse like once or twice. But like, I assume over there in LA, it's like you're rehearsing constantly, weeks. No, really?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Opposite. Well, for film, at least.
Well, it depends on the production, right? Because like rehearsals are expensive and like it's difficult to get
schedule alignment.
So it does depend. Sometimes you do, usually you'll at least do a read through, right? And sometimes you'll do a rehearsal, whether it's for blocking or something beforehand. But yeah, usually not
Okay,
a huge
that makes
amount.
me feel a little bit better
Yeah,
because I thought we were
don't
like,
worry, you got it.
Yeah, I thought we were like, we're not doing things right. Because we are trying to push ourselves to focus more on acting. Because I think technically, we're getting there closer to, to our own horn. We're getting there. Hollywood, give us a call. It's just our acting.
That's how it
directing
works, by the way.
Okay.
They do call you one day.
Okay, all right. Just waiting. But yeah, so that's good to hear. I guess that rehearsals is more something we rely on. Like, how did we do when we worked in TRS?
You put me on camera, great.
Yeah. Okay.
No, you did really well.
That's great. Then.
I think, you guys did really well.
Yeah.
I think the most importantly, what I liked about working with you guys was you made the set feel really welcoming.
Are there cold sets?
Yes, it makes a huge difference. If you're worried about losing your job on a set, there's nothing that will kill creativity and like choices faster.
Okay.
Yes. So that's good. If you do
Okay.
that, that's
All
good.
right. I'm happy about that. All right. And so bringing it back locally to Hong Kong, as non-locals acting in Hong Kong, what is that experience like?
Ooh, that's a good question. Oh, you have way more experience. Yeah.
Okay, be specific. What do you mean?
So.
Just like the circumference of your face.
I'm curious. Like, I don't want to push any narrative. There's always these assumptions, right?
Yeah.
I'll tell you. Like, my mindset is, when I was looking at, Caucasian people in Asia, right? There was this huge demand for just you being Caucasian.
Okay.
And I'm wondering, like, what is it like? Are you like thinking like, oh, that's great for me, let me cash in on that? Or is it like you feel almost a little bit ostracized, pigeonholed? I don't want to like push a narrative. I'm curious what you.
So what I think about this is that when you're in a market, right, whether it's US or it's in Hong Kong or wherever it is, you have to be aware of the realities of the market, right? So like, what are the types of films, types of TV shows that are being made that are interesting to the local audience, right? And usually in Hong Kong, for me, that means that I'm either a corrupt cop, right, in like a 70s period thing, because that's part of the Hong Kong history. I'm like a bad boyfriend,
Okay.
or like a terrorist or something, right? Usually like the other, right? Which is like fine. That's like the market, right? It's not always like that, but the majority is. But then Hong Kong is also known for a lot of action movies, right? So I guess that also plays into it, right? And I'm happy to have those roles. They're fun to do, and like
It's work.
it's work.
Yeah.
You know, it's work. It's
Gets
good
you
work.
on set.
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah.
Right, because for me, from the filmmaking perspective, you know, I've never acted it.
Yeah.
There's always kind of like, oh, you won't understand the local, you won't understand the local storytelling. You know, you won't understand the local kind of language, so you don't know the flow. So it's like this other side of Hong Kong filmmaking that I personally cannot relate with or create for.
Yeah.
Because I just simply don't understand or can't be a part of this.
Yeah, there is a little bit of that sometimes where they might not trust you as much sometimes, or because there's a language barrier, sometimes there might be like a little bit of a generalized direction. I have a story if you want it.
Sure. If you're willing, if you want to share.
There was a time. Okay, let's see. Maybe we can cut this out later. There was a time where an agent contacted me and they're like, "Oh, this director really wants you to come and do this role." I'm like, "Great. What is it?" He's like, "It's a sex scene." I'm like, "Absolutely not. I'm out. No, thank you." And then they're like, "Okay, let me talk to them." Then they're like, "Well, they'll pay you some more. They'll pay you more." And I'm like, "Well, how much more? And what is the sex scene? Like, what is it?" And they're like, "Yeah, it's really not much. Right? It's just like a little thing. You're in a bed. It's not really a sex scene. That's fine." So I was like, okay, let me come in and at least talk to the director and see what they want. So I went in and spoke to the director, and it was like nothing. He's like, "It's really nothing." He's like, "You're just here. You're on top of Jai. We're friends now, still. She's very nice."
After this.
And we were there. Yeah, she was like in bed and I'm supposed to be on top. And he's like, "Okay, so, you know, you do the thing and then you roll off and then you have your conversation and then she's on the phone. The end." Right? And I was like, "Okay, are you okay with this? You okay, Jari?" She's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Okay." So he goes to the other room and he calls action. I'm like, "Okay, here we go." So I'm, you know, doing this thing for like 20, 30 seconds. Then
Best acting ever,
I
I'm
finish,
sure. Yeah.
you know, then I roll over, have a little conversation, you know, and then they cut. And then silence. And he's like, "Jai, on action, you already roll off. You just roll off straight away." And I was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." But I think that was the like, because it's like one, the like subject matter, but two, because there's like a little bit of a language barrier.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like it wasn't necessarily like hammered home that was what was happening. You know, it was just like, you get it. You know, you do it, then you roll off.
Hey, but true to creativity, it lets you go through that whole process instead of just cutting you off. They could have just stopped, but they, you know.
Maybe. I mean, these days, I don't think that would fly. I don't know if it's,
yeah.
I'm just imagining in the room, they didn't expect you to do the 20, 30 seconds.
I don't think so.
So they just
I don't think
go
so.
like,
Jay Ari was along for the ride. She didn't mind. She was
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
good
Wow.
sport.
Awesome. I guess.
But yeah.
I mean, wow. Okay. That's
Yeah.
cool. So that's the thing. The gap in kind of.
Sometimes there can be a bit of a, not always,
But
but yeah, just like a little bit of a hurdle.
what about you, Eugene? Do you feel that kind of hurdle in Hong Kong?
My experience is more in the non-local scene.
Right.
Right. I had a few experiences with the local scene one, but I think that was enough to let me know, because always, if I was to compare with Jai, right? Like I have the face of a local, but I don't have, I think, the mannerisms and all that stuff. So there's expectations that when you go in, you have that type of storytelling flow that they're used to. But to me, it's not really there. And I think that creates like a gap and a frustration. And like, well, I'll just get somebody that can, right?
Right.
Because they don't really, I can just easily find.
Yeah. There's
Somebody
a million
else.
of you guys. A million of us.
Yeah.
You mean, is that an experience thing? Is that like you don't have the local film set experience?
No, not the film set experience. It's just more like I think the tone, I suppose. Like when I did do an audition. I did get a role. And I found out later they were hiring me as a foreigner, not as a local.
Okay.
And it was a local film, a prison film, and my role would be the antagonist.
Okay.
Which most foreigners actually in Hong Kong play the antagonist.
Why are foreigners? Okay, I get it. Fine.
Yeah,
I do
just
get
the
it.
way, hey, you know, yeah, it's work. Yeah. And I was supposed to, in prison, express my dominance on this guy.
Oh.
Right. And I was
By
like,
rapping, dancing,
yeah, you know,
making him a gift.
just like a dance off,
Uh-huh,
prison
that's what it
card,
was.
you know. And I was like, I don't feel comfortable with this one. I don't know if I called you on that one. I forget.
I don't think so.
I
I've
forget.
never heard this.
But at that time, it was because I was already deciding to go to LA. And if I was to accept this job, it would have like pushed the ticket, everything, all
Yeah.
the stuff I had planned. But it was also my first time to be on like a big set in a local film.
Yeah.
In the end, I decided not to. If I didn't have anything lined up, like the LA trip, I think maybe I would have taken this job because it's work, it's experience, it's whatever. I don't know.
I think it would have been good.
I still want to ask about LA and Hong Kong though.
Yeah,
Could you
yeah.
tell me like one thing that LA has that Hong doesn't, and what Hong Kong has that LA doesn't?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
You want what LA has that Hong Kong doesn't? Residuals and contracts and a union.
Yep, all the above. Yeah. And competition, I'll be honest. There's a lot of, like you said.
You don't think Hong Kong has competition? All right.
Oh, there
Big
you
dog.
go. Yeah. Jai gets all the rules. There's no competition.
Oh yeah, right.
I think what I mean by that is this is a numbers game, right? Because everyone goes to LA
Yeah.
for that. And I think that creates like this area of just a lot of people just working on their craft, you know,
Yeah.
trying to make it. And I think that's why you have a lot of stuff going on because people are starting, especially these days, people try to take more control of their career.
Right.
You know, you have the traditional way, and then you have this new way where people take more control.
Yeah.
But I think what happens though is there's more opportunities in some way.
True. Everyone goes there, so all the opportunities will go there.
And
right?
everyone's trying to like make it, right? So there is that constant, and you're surrounded by it.
What do you mean make it?
What do you mean? What do you mean make it?
I mean, what do you mean? Do you mean that do you think
Be a
everybody's
working
trying to
actor.
be like a superstar, or do you mean everybody's trying to survive?
Survive.
Yeah,
Survive.
okay.
That's important. Glad you brought it up. Every time nowadays I get people saying I want to be an actor as well.
Yeah.
And then my first question nowadays is, well, what type of actor do you want to be? Right? For me, it's always just kind of like if I can, when I left my corporate job, for instance, or whatever, if I can make the same amount of money as I did then, have the same like freedom of time, so on and so forth, to me that's a win already because I'm doing what I like. You
That's incredible.
I know, right? That's like, and the bars are free.
That's crazy. That actually is a paradigm shift in terms of the way I looked at acting. Because what you were saying is when you said make it, in my mind I thought be Brad Pitt. Like,
Yeah.
Be
Oh, yeah.
But actually, from what you're telling me, in LA, a lot of people
Well,
they just want to like make it as in
I don't know about a lot of people.
as a job.
Yeah, I don't know about a lot of people.
Yeah.
I'm just speaking.
Well, a lot of people.
Yeah, working like they want to
You
work.
want to be a
right?
working actor. You want to book a show. You want to book a national commercial, something that'll give you some freedom.
I think, but you're talking about like making it into like as a superstar.
Well,
as a
I always
movie star.
assumed that if you went up to anybody in LA, everyone 100% of the time will say, I want to make it become a superstar celebrity, which is fine at everyone's
Yeah.
heart, yes, kind of. But I never thought of a way that actors also, it's like a 9-to-5 job almost. Not really 9 to 5, but it's a career. It's a career, it's a job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's something that at the end of the day, it's like, not that, unless you make a superstar status, you aren't an actor.
Yeah,
right?
like, what are you
you're
gonna
just-
do?
Yeah, you're just an actor
Yeah.
is just is another job.
Yeah.
It's a vocation,
job.
and it's not something like you haven't succeeded at this job until you become the main character.
Everybody has their own
Right.
like levels of what succeeded is.
Right.
But I always tell like the people at the actors gym or whatever, and my mentality is that your job as an actor isn't the like the booked roles, like the films, the TV, all of that stuff. Your job is to do your auditions, and to be prepared and to be ready and to just like keep it going.
Yeah.
Like that's your job. And then the jobs you book are like the perks.
That's super
Really.
interesting. I never thought of it that way, and that actually makes it a much more healthy industry.
Yeah,
for
Way
you
women.
have
more
to.
healthy.
You
Way
have
more
to.
so
Yeah.
healthy looking at
Right?
it that way,
Yeah.
And it's not even like it's also true, right? Like you can't see it as like I haven't succeeded unless I've.
Because if you think of every audition you go to as like a barrier to this success, right? Then you just get failure after failure after failure.
Oh, that's a-
and that's like no life
Yeah.
for anybody, right? Like if the audition process is just part of the job and you're making connections and you're like, because even if you don't get the job, if you do a good job and you do a good job consistently for the same casting directors, then word's going to get around. And if
Right.
there's a good job that you're right for, they'll bring you in, and eventually you'll start getting more and more. It's about consistency.
It's just to basically do your job.
it's the same as
Get
like,
remembered so that you get the callbacks, or you have people remember you, so that they're like, oh yeah, you just want to get in that list, right? Like, oh, there, I'll call this guy.
But just in their mind, just be like, oh yeah, this guy's. It's the
Yeah.
same in Hong Kong, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you will find that you work with the same directors again and again because they can trust you. That's it. Because they know that you can do the job, right? That's it.
Right.
Yeah.
I liken it. Well, I'm liking it in my mind is like you work in a corporate job. You spend your time making your slides, preparing them. You do a pitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't get picked, but at least you did a good job.
Yeah.
Your higher ups will be like, I like this guy. He can execute. I'll maybe get him to pitch more. It's the exact same. It's just work. Put in the work. Be prepared.
Yeah.
Same thing.
There's
So
a lot,
it's.
yeah.
I think that's a. Changed my entire perspective. That's so cool. So I do want to actually talk about Lawless Zone. I know
yeah.
it's
Oh,
still
yeah.
coming. I tried. I was hoping that I'd get a little sneak peek at something, but I didn't get anything. But I hope to get some
Yeah,
later
okay,
on.
I'll send it to you, yeah.
But
We can do the fight for you. If you
Yeah.
want me to throw him through a table?
so you told me you wrote and co-produced this
Yeah. So
and acted in it.
that was. There was a time there was nothing at that time, so I figured I was talking to Mike Park, who is a director and writer himself, and he had this really cool concept that he had made like very nice scripts about. But I think he wanted a challenge. He said, I kind of want to direct something else as a way to practice. I was like, well, if you don't mind, I'd be happy to write something about your worlds, and you can just take it and bring it to life. Disclaimer, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. Post everything, I'm really glad I did. And I did know that when I wrote it, I knew I wanted Jai in it. Because I feel like, have you seen it? I mean,
So you feel like you didn't know anyone else.
yeah, because exactly. No, it's just because I feel like you learn a lot being on set, but you also learn a lot. And one of the ways that you cannot learn anywhere else, but it's just to be in it with somebody. And I thought, well, this would be a great opportunity. I'm so glad you said yes, right?
Yeah, I regret it every
Yeah, I
day
know.
of my life.
But
I'm kidding,
too
I'm
late.
kidding.
Too late.
I'm kidding.
Did you write it with Jai in mind?
No.
No.
Oh, not my question.
You know, it was my first time actually doing that, so I didn't actually write it with Jai in mind.
Oh.
But I just knew I wanted Jai in it.
Are you allowed to say anything about what it's about, or I mean, at least what like inspired the story, or?
Do you know what I wanted was to do something I didn't have experience yet, and that was a fight scene. And so I wrote that in.
So actually, that's another. How do you write a fight scene? Like, do you write like left hook, Jai dodge? Like, what?
I don't know.
There's a bunch of ways, right?
Yeah.
Right?
You can write it all out.
Yeah.
But the thing is, a lot of times, unless you've got like a very, 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 very like director with like such a picture perfect mind of like what he wants,
Yeah.
it changes on set, right? You kind of like incorporate your environment and, you know, the strengths of the actors, the weaknesses, what you've got on the day, you know. It's like that Indiana Jones thing, you know, where he came out, where he, which I don't know which movie, but when he like Indiana Jones has just had a fight.
Oh yeah,
he comes outside. The guy pulls out the sword. He's like, "Let's go!" And then he just shoots him. Right? Because he had diarrhea or whatever.
So did you write just fight scene?
No, actually, I knew I wanted the fight scene, and really lucky because we had found Albert. Albert Leung was himself action choreographer and a stunt guy. You know, I think it's because I didn't have the experience, so finding the right people to like fill in that gap was the only way I could go about it. And I was just super lucky that everyone's schedules kind of met and everything. So Albert was the one. We did one rehearsal.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did one rehearsal. And then even like you said, on the day of though, we had to change some of the choreography.
So I know that I'm getting really granular, but I'm thinking like, how? You standing there and then you're kind of like, okay.
How do you do it?
Throw a punch at me. Like, how does the fight choreography work? If
you want to build a story, right?
Right.
With the fight, any good fight scene will have a story with it, right?
Okay.
You know, like Jackie Chan's really good at that. But you know, it's about building tension, releasing tension, like getting the upper hand, and like it's like a whole game like that. You know, so it's. I mean, it's kind of similar to like an argument, right? Like a verbal thing, like a verbal exchange, but just physically.
Someone throws a good point at you, get hit.
Yeah,
you know,
right?
Like you try to
like,
stumble a bit.
Well, I'm your dad. Right? It's like bam.
Okay, that's good. I think that's a really fun way of approaching it because you know, I'm also curious about. I've never written a fight scene either, and I think that maybe in the future I might want to dip my toe into it. I just don't know where to start. But I'm seeing it as an argument, but also probably you can't plan a fight scene in the writing phase. It's more like you work with a
plan where you want it to go.
Yeah.
Right. Like, who do you want to have the upper hand?
Right.
And like at which points?
Yeah.
You know?
Okay. Right.
And how do you want it to end? How do you want it to start? You can do that.
Okay. Okay. But usually then you'd work with like a choreographer or like a stunt.
I did
stunt
only
team.
because I didn't.
Oh, okay.
I didn't have the experience, so that was important to me. But yeah.
I mean, you'd want to, right? I mean, it's like you could, if you were shooting your own movie, you could act all the roles yourself. You could do the lighting yourself. Better if you bring in a professional, right? It's the same thing, right? You could just be like, okay, we're gonna hit each other and fall on the floor.
Well, I mean, hopefully by the time this episode comes out, it is already released and it's a resounding success, or we're still waiting for it to come out and be a resounding success. I also wanted to ask about good and bad directors, and I asked other directors about it, but actually the people who have the best experience are the actors, you guys who experience these directors. What, in your eyes, makes a good director and a bad director?
Communication, the ability to communicate, a clear idea of what you want, good communication about that, and the ability to kind of let it go and be okay with getting what you get.
Yeah.
You know? Because if you're trying to like hammer exactly what you have in your mind, it might not actually be the best thing, you know? But if you can kind of guide it and let it go, you know? This is what people always say about like, you know, the best, Steven Spielberg, you know, or whatever. They like, and it's Scorsese, you know?
Yeah.
Like they build this thing and then they kind of just let it go.
Oh, okay. So they put the actors in the position and just
Put the actors in, say what you want,
Yeah.
you know, give all the direction you need, and then see what happens.
Okay. What do you think, Eugene?
I agree. Because otherwise, I think sometimes I feel, oh, you don't really need me then. You could have just had anybody just to do whatever you wanted to do.
Right.
But if you have that, if you know the communication part, what is it that we after our pre-discussions, everything, this is what we're trying to get at, this is what's happening. And then from there, you just kind of see what happens, you know, and letting it go. I think nowadays with digital phase, it's nicer because you can have that ability without thinking you're wasting film or money or stuff like that. Well, at least money, time, yeah. But there's been a few sets where I feel like, I think the worst way to kill creativity is just to tell them what emotion you're looking for, right?
Yeah.
Be
sure.
sad.
Be
Yeah.
sad. Yes, I,
Be sad. Or do a line read. Be sad. Say it like this.
yeah.
Or-
Emphasize this word. You know.
Do you have an experience where it was like you're like, wow, this is really good? Because in my mind,
Yeah.
all I'm thinking, you're saying,
Yes. You know what? The best sets I've ever been on are where the director and the whole team, but starting with the director, makes you feel so comfortable that you can play, you can try things, you can test things out.
Yeah.
You know, you're secure. They want you there for a reason. You know, they trust you. That's where you do your best work, 100%. And that's when it's most fun.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody wants to be on set being shouted at every day.
okay.
You know, and like,
Wow. Yeah.
right? Like,
I'm laughing 'cause
like
absolutely.
legitimately, that's
Absolutely.
what happens
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
you
What are you
know?
doing? You know.
Yeah, or just not even to you, just like, what the fuck is this shit? And you're like, oh, even if it's about someone else, you're like, I don't want to be here, man.
Yeah.
Right. Because I know you were saying like, you know, when people say like, say it like this. I've been guilty. I've done that before.
Really?
And I've been guilty of saying that, and I know that's bad. I know that's just like kind of.
So glad
force-
you owned up to it because I was talking about you. No, I'm just
Oh,
kidding.
no.
I'm kidding.
I mean, you're like
kidding.
forcing someone in the
I'm
corner. I
kidding.
know it's. And I'm trying to think like, how can other directors out there that realize that they're guilty of this? How can they, in your opinion, pivot? And what are some steps they can take to prevent being this kind of?
You know, some
director.
directors actually take acting lessons.
That's exactly what I was going to
Yeah,
say.
yeah, they take acting lessons, and they actually get to know what the actors go through, the process, and then they basically change their style around it.
Even if you audit, even if you just sit in on a class and watch an acting class or something, just hear how the teacher talks to the actors.
Yeah.
Right? And what you can do is you can figure out how that particular actor works.
Yeah.
Right? Because everybody works differently, right?
Different methods, different styles.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like it's a thing. Do you see more of the, I like to call like the beaten down kind of follow the lane, follow the instructions actor
Yeah.
a lot more here in Hong Kong, or do you see not beaten down? I guess the
I think that's good too, right?
follow instructions or the play around in the space. Which one do you see more of in Hong Kong?
Well, I wouldn't specify, like, I wouldn't bottle it into just like a region. I think it's the process. Like for me, I'll be honest, where I'm at right now, I do have that fear if I go on a set, and it's like I don't want to screw it up. I don't want to fuck anything up because I want to. This is a rare chance to get this opportunity, right? But I feel like that works against me. So right now, for me, I'm working how to like deal with that.
Yeah.
You know?
I think a constant struggle, right? Because you want to be
Yeah.
free. Well, there's two sides, right? Because this guy, the guy does exactly what you want, great for editing.
Yeah.
Right? Every take's going to be exactly the same. You can use it. Whereas this guy might be, you know, a little more interesting, but a little more difficult to like
Yeah.
cut
Right,
together.
right.
It's also going to be different project to project, right?
Yeah.
Like if you feel more confident on some project. But again, this is about like, again, the comfort level and like what you see as your expectations
Right.
from the director, right? Because if the director's like, we got 5 minutes, you got to hit your mark and you got to say this line,
Yeah.
and then we're out of here. You're like, okay.
Okay, I won't.
If you come in and you're like, ooh, yeah, I got an idea. What if I do this? What if, you know, what if I do it in French or something? You know, they're going to be like, fired, get out of here.
Yeah, okay.
You know.
So it's kind of maybe as an actor sensing what kind of set it is and seeing what you need to be.
That comes. I think the pre-work plays a big role in that one too, though, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just about sensing what the kind of set it is and what kind of set the director, like, sets it up as. And of the project. Because different projects have different, like, time crunches, right? If you're doing, like, 50 pages of TV in a day,
Right.
you know, you probably want to nail it in, like, 1 or 2 takes. So you want to have all of your choices made and, like, you know, or just, like, do it.
I did notice that. I feel in Hong Kong, at least, they film really fast.
They do film fast.
They film really fast.
But a lot of times they are open to,
yeah.
like, big choices and doing stuff, which is fun.
So I wanted to ask about what is inspiration to an actor? So for like a writer, it's a story. For a director of photography, it's like a shot they have in mind. Director, it's a style.
Yeah.
For as an actor, what is inspiration?
Could be anything, right? Could be a concept, could be like,
The people on the project could be.
yeah, could be money.
Could be money.
Could be the story. Could be the story.
Right.
I think a lot of times, I don't know. I mean, like you take what projects you're offered, really, for the most part. But like if I'm choosing a scene, or if I'm trying to find a scene to work on in a class or by myself or something, if I'm trying to write something, I really get drawn to like kind of the mental side of it. You know what I mean? Like if you are, like how does a person deal with this situation? Like how do you keep everything afloat when you're in this situation? You know, when you're spinning all these different plates, and what does that do to your mindset? And how does that change your outlook on life? You know, and how does that person, how do you navigate the world as that person? You know what I mean?
Right. Like the creating this connection between yourself as the
Yeah,
actor
like what
and
would
the
it be
character.
like? Like
Right.
what would it actually be like
If it was you.
Sure.
Right, yeah,
You know,
okay.
if you like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then that's when you're like, when you hit that link, you're like, wow.
It's just interesting. It's just interesting.
Yeah.
You know?
All right.
Yeah, I
What
don't
about
know
for
if
you,
there's like a
Eugene?
wow.
It's the same. Sometimes, like, I think for me right now, it's like you get, I would say yes to most things, because I think any opportunity to be on set or to practice, I think is great.
Unless it's that local movie where you're the antagonist in
Hey,
the
I
prison.
had stuff lined up, right?
Yeah, things like that. Okay.
But sometimes you read a script and you're like, oh, I'm kind of interested to see how this is going to turn out, you know, and the stories. I mean, I think we've both had some scripts that you read the first page, you're like, oh, this is going to be tough, you know?
You mean like bad movies?
Like bad. yeah, like, oh.
Not that anything you guys have worked on has been bad.
Absolutely
all
not.
Yeah,
I stand
absolutely
by
not.
every
Yeah,
film I've ever made.
What is the first step you take to developing this role or character? Is it like, how is this person physically? How am I going to deliver this line? What is the first step you take when approaching a role?
Oh,
You mean if it's a bad script?
No, any script, any
Oh,
script, just in general.
Okay,
Like when
okay.
you're given a role, it's just off the topic of when you said you
Yeah.
bad scripts. But
well, I think because if it is a job, you kind of find out what you're doing. Because sometimes you start delivering what they're looking for, right? If it's a soap opera, you know what they're looking for, right? So you kind of gravitate towards that way. You know, for the hardest part for me is, you know how usually they tell us to read the script and you just read it as what it is? Read the script, by the way. Hey, you'd be surprised, all right? Read the
hardest part for
script.
me is
Read it. But to remove myself from the character they tell me they want me to play. I have
I see
that
what you
issue right now, right?
Right.
So sometimes I almost rather they send it to me and then just like, or I just kind of like, just try to ignore it.
Right.
Because it gives you an unbiased look at the story.
okay.
Because I do follow right now that if you judge the character, like if you're like, whoa, why would they do that? Why would they do that? Without actually going into it, understanding it empathetically, then I find it will be difficult to play it. you know?
Right.
No, I think it would be impossible. You can't judge
Yeah.
a character, right?
Yeah.
I think that is, for me, the answer is connection.
Oh, okay.
Right? You read through it, you see like where you're similar, where you're different, you know, to this person, what they want in life, what they want over the course of the thing, the story, what they want over the course of each scene, you know, and kind of piece it together.
Oh, okay.
Did you have this thing where you ever read a script and then you actually feel like you resonated with the other character more?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I have.
Really?
Yeah, I was like, oh.
Like, I hate this guy.
Yeah. And I was like, ugh.
But see, that's an interesting challenge then, right?
It is,
Because
it
then you
is.
have to like
kind of,
get in there and figure out why a way for you to be on this guy's side.
Yeah.
Right? For this to be the right decision, for this to be the story.
Which is like kind of the fun part, you know.
Yeah, sometimes. If you've got a time crunch, then you're like, oh.
Then yeah.
Okay, because you know, obviously from the other side of the camera's point of view, it's like I'd assumed it was like how are my eyebrows going to like be in this scene?
yeah,
Do I scrunch? Do I, you know, like it's all because you know, you have actors that I've seen that talked about all this, the physicality, little notes and accents you put on the way you think. But I guess that comes like after you've made a connection with a character. That's when these other things come naturally to you because you have a connection now with this character.
Yeah. I mean, you don't plan for those things.
Unless the director's like, okay, because sometimes they talk while you're doing the scene, right? They like give you
Right.
verbal direction, right? Like scratch your head, okay. Now walk to your left, you know, and then they
okay.
just get rid of it later.
Mind you, I think you're talking as if we're like one of the main leads of the script stuff, right? Because I feel like if you like, or if you're not, you just kind of do whatever you're told to do, you know?
Yeah.
So
I mean, this also does change with like the size of the role and like how far in advance you get the script.
Right.
Right?
yeah.
You can't really, as an extra, ask like the director, what is my motivation?
I mean, you can.
There's like 300 people on set. Yeah, okay. Makes sense. And then the last one is something that I think a lot of filmmakers on both ends, in terms of acting and directing, have come across, is when you have this block. And I'm sure you've come across this block where you're on set or doing a scene, and you and the director just can't seem to find how to do it. Like I've had a situation where maybe I'm directing someone and I'm trying to communicate what I want to happen, but just they keep doing it and I don't think they're understanding and they're not understanding, and there's a silent little bit of frustration because we want to communicate, but we just can't. I mean, have you had that before, and have you ever overcome it somehow, and like how did you guys do it?
I feel like in that instance, it would be like a communication thing, like a language of communication, right?
Right.
So if you're really just butting heads like this, then you've got to try something else, right? So if you're trying to tell him like, listen, you just need to get here and answer the phone, and he's like, why? You're like, because fucking I'm paying you, you know, and the phone's gonna ring. That's not gonna work necessarily, for some people maybe. But if you can shift and be like, okay, well, how's this? Your mom's sick, she's at the hospital, you've been waiting on this phone call all day, right? You've been sitting in this couch for 10 hours waiting for the call, now the phone rings, right? All of a sudden they're like, okay, I know why I'm answering the phone, there's like something there, right? But like other people would react better. They'd be like, I don't give a shit about the backstory. Just tell me what you want me to do in like the space. So, I mean, it's just like figuring out communication styles.
What about you, Eugene? Have you ever, I mean, did you ever, was it on our set where we were just like, Eugene, I don't understand why you're not getting this.
If you're bringing it up, I should ask you the question. It was
But
this is fun.
Yeah, I was like, whoa.
Have you ever experienced that where like you had this block with the filmmaker, and then like finally you guys managed to work past it?
Yeah. I think the block was maybe I didn't know what they were looking for or what they wanted, you know, and so I think for that particular situation, it was just really taking a step back and just kind of, I guess, let the ego go with the flow and see what it is, and then just see what happens, you know.
It's tough though.
It is really tough.
Right? Because
It's
usually
really
when
tough.
that happens, you don't figure it out.
Yeah.
And you get something, right? And then both you leave frustrated.
Yeah.
The director thinks you can't act. The actor's like, what the?
You suck.
Well, you feel like you
set
did a
sucks,
bad
you know?
job, but you also
Yeah.
feel like this has happened to me multiple times, a couple of times. And like my perspective is that the director didn't spend any time figuring out the character, right? It was just like person does this, right? And then like when you ask them about it, it's like, well, you just do it.
Just does it.
Right? And so like that's frustrating for you, having put so much time into this, to be like, you didn't even care? Like, what is this?
Right.
Like, and
why
so
you
it's
here?
just-
Yeah.
But then again, maybe that's just ego. I don't know.
Yeah, there was a time though, I think I had a good discussion with the director, and then we agreed on like a certain vision to try certain things, and the day of, it's like all that went out the window.
Oh. But that happens.
That
does
happens.
happen.
But then I was like, for me though, it was a struggle to cope with that.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I thought we talked about this.
Yeah.
Most of the directors I am working with are like us. They're just learning their craft, trying new things. And I think for me to remind myself that we're in this together, it really helps a bit, you know, and take everything like an experience. But it's not as easier said than done, obviously, you know. But as everyone tries to, and hopefully, like, look, even if a second time comes around to work, yeah, let's see if we both improved and can collaborate unless something really bad happened the first time.
I fucking hate you. You know?
Screw you, man.
This is how it ends.
You know. Okay, well, that's kind of all the time that we have for today. I wish we could keep going. I'm having so much fun, but
me too.
we have to end this party sometime. As a final question, I actually maybe it's a question that you can answer for the audience: is any aspiring actors who are looking to get in the industry, what kind of advice, what kind of first steps, what kind of mantras would you want to share with them?
I'll let you go first because you actually helped me on mine.
Thank you so much.
Go for mine.
I would say do everything. Do whatever you can. Get out there, do classes, do work. If you can get work on a commercial, if you can get work on a whatever, a film, extra work, background work, get out there because it's all, even though it might not be where you want to be, you're going to be making connections, you're going to be meeting people, do all the student films, all of this stuff. It's amazing, actually. The student films I did in 2007 or something when I first started in LA, now everybody I worked with then is like established in the industry. You know, they're all like professional camera people, professional ADs, professional producers. So everybody you meet will be like good long term to know, you know? And it's good to like just build a network and meet people who are doing the same things, you know?
Going off of that same, I would say just do as much as you can. I think anytime you're on set, regardless of what role you play, you're gonna learn something. And I feel just really have fun. It's a very long hours, and it may not always seem like it's rewarding.
Bring a book.
Yeah. Yeah, bring a book. Do the work. I'm a tough love this a little bit. I feel like you gotta do the work, you know.
What does that mean?
Don't just show up, you know, and there's no shortcuts. I think for me, going to LA was to learn how much I still had to do, you know, compared to the people out there to be a contender, I guess, you know, and I think that's important for all to know for all the ones who want to be up and coming actors. It's hard. The greats that we aspire to become and look forward to working with, they just make it look easy because they're so good at it, right? But
yeah. One thing I would add to that though is don't be afraid, because the amount of people who just have confidence without having done a mountain of work and that are working and fine. You know, don't be afraid to try. To like have the confidence to just give it a go.
Yeah. There's so many routes to this end goal, wherever that may be for everyone. But yeah.
All right. Well, that's all the time and questions we have for today.
And don't be a dick.
I want to... Don't be a dick. Okay,
Don't
that's
be
the
a
last one.
dick.
Don't be a dick.
Yeah.
I want to thank our guests for taking the time and coming on our show. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So welcome. Thank you.
I'd like to thank our crew for making this all happen.
Thank you, guys.
So I'd also like to thank our sponsors, The Hive, for sponsoring this episode and this series. And that's a wrap. Thanks for coming.